If you want to learn or if you want to speak in English, you have to learn auxiliary verb, because in so many sectors we use auxiliary verb, like we make request with auxiliary verb like can and could, and also would. We make obligation with auxiliary verb. In this purpose, we use must. In this purpose, we use ought to. In this purpose, we use another words which is not auxiliary verb. The word is have to, has to, and had to. So other auxiliary verb may, might, need. We use may as a possibility purpose. We also use might with a possibility purpose. Means we use may and might be about possibility purpose. So these kinds of modal verb, which is also called auxiliary verb, we use to express various kinds of thing, like we make permission with auxiliary verb. In this sector we can use may and can. Means when we take permission from any other person, means senior person, that time we use can and may. So if you want to speak in English, you have to know how you can use auxiliary verb. You have to learn properly. Means how can use auxiliary verb for various kinds of purpose. We use auxiliary verb for various kinds of purpose, like we make request with auxiliary verb. We make obligation with auxiliary verb. We make request, sorry, we make permission with auxiliary verb. We also use auxiliary verb for advice purpose. Means when we provide advice to anyone, that time we use auxiliary verb should. And we also use auxiliary verb to express our ability. We use can to express our present ability, and we use could to express our past ability. So we use auxiliary verb for various kinds of purpose. Means we use auxiliary verb to express our thoughts, feelings, expression for in various kinds of situation. So If you want to speak English better, you have to know how can you use properly auxiliary verb. Without auxiliary verb, you never conceive or never think in English. You never think about English, because auxiliary verb is a mandatory part of English, because so many things we express with auxiliary verb. I have said earlier, in so many purpose we use auxiliary verb, like we make request with auxiliary verb, we make obligation with auxiliary verb, we express our ability, present ability and past ability. We express our ability with auxiliary verb. If we want to show respect to higher person, means senior person, means who are elder than us, that time we use auxiliary verb. So if we want to provide advice to anyone, that time we use auxiliary verb. In this sector, means in to purpose of advice, we use should. If you want to speak in English, you have to learn using of auxiliary verb. Without auxiliary, you never conceive, you never think about English language. Basically, two types of contents, two types of sentence we use with auxiliary verb. One is simple statement or simple sentence. Other is question sentence, like can I take this thing? Please, can you close this window? Would you go outside? Can I take this thing? Can I go from here? Can I enter this room? Can I open this door? Can I open this window? And when you want to know about this, about any particular thing, that time we use should. Means when we want to provide any advice, that time we use should. Like you should study regularly if you want to pass exam. You should go along this road if you want to go that particular place. So auxiliary verb play an important role in speaking in English. You never skip auxiliary verb if you want to speak in English. You have to learn auxiliary verb. So I will highly recommend you learn all kinds of auxiliary verb and takes notes, document what things you learn about auxiliary verb. It will gives you sorry it will give you more clarity when you write something about means when you will write or document about auxiliary verb, that time it will be more and more clear to you. So I will highly recommend you learn uses of all kinds of auxiliary verb and make some sentences. Make some sentences with these all kinds of auxiliary verb. It will help you so much understand English, and it also will help you to speak better in English. So you have to learn auxiliary verb. So start learning auxiliary verb from today and take important notes about auxiliary verb. It will help you so much to speak English better and to know about English language.